Welcome to the Explainer. So today we are going to completely dismantle this really outdated mental model that honestly almost all of us hold about our own bodies. We usually treat sleep like, I don't know, pulling a car into a gas station, right? You're completely empty, you put the car in park, fill up the tank, and blindly drive off into the next day. But what if that's just entirely wrong? Today, we're swapping out that super simplistic gas tank idea for a much more powerful and way more accurate model, treating the body like a complex biological control system. To kick things off, ask yourself this. Why do you still feel tired after getting a full 8 hours of sleep? I mean, we've all been there. You diligently get your recommended hours, but when you wake up the next day, everything just feels incredibly heavy, slow, and kind of frustrating. Your focus is totally shot, your patience is hovering right around absolute zero, and your body just drags. If sleep was really just about filling up an empty tank, getting 8 hours should theoretically mean you're fully fueled and ready to go. But you aren't. So why is that? Well, this brings us to a brilliant paradigm shift from our source material. Quote, "Sleep does not merely pause exhaustion, it restores the machinery that turns stored resources into usable energy." This is huge. Sleep isn't just this passive shutdown where you simply power down and wait for the sun to come up. No way. It is an incredibly active, deeply dynamic rebuilding of your system's readiness. It's actually not about the fuel at all. It's about repairing the very engine that burns the fuel. Think of sleep like a super busy bakery right before dawn. By the time the city wakes up and people want their morning croissants, the heavy bags of flour have already been mixed, the ovens are piping hot, and the pastries are perfectly baked. The output is ready precisely because of all that intense, invisible prep work that happened in the dark, hours before the doors ever opened. Sleep is exactly that essential prep work. It gives your waking hours something to actually run on when the daily demand hits. Section 1, the body's recovery logic, rebuilding tomorrow's usability. Let's dive in. So every waking hour you experience creates this series of small, compounding biological costs. Muscles work, neurons fire, tissues slowly wear down. It's exactly like a bustling restaurant kitchen right after a massive, chaotic dinner rush. The food might be gone, the customers have left, but the real work for the staff, it's just starting. Counters need deep cleaning, fresh ingredients have to be meticulously restocked, and every single knife needs to be sharpened and put back in its place. If you skip this invisible cleanup process, tomorrow's dinner service is going to be an absolute disaster. Sleep handles this invisible work for us, clearing the clutter, repairing the cellular damage, and fully resetting the kitchen. In this maintenance, it isn't just one single, isolated recharge event. It's intensely multi-layered, and it's happening simultaneously all across your body. Your brain is actively clearing out toxic metabolic waste. Your muscles are repairing microscopic physical tears from the day's load. Hormones are busy rebalancing your baseline stress and appetite signals so you don't wake up ravenous and anxious, right? The immune system is strengthening its defensive readiness, and your metabolism is literally regulating exactly how your body will handle energy demands tomorrow. Think of it like plugging in your smartphone at night. It doesn't just bump up the battery percentage, it stabilizes the internal temp, regulates power flow, and runs these massive background software updates to keep the whole device from crashing. So how does all this crucial work actually affect the brain? Well, during a typical day, your brain takes in just overwhelming, massive amounts of information. Sleep acts as the ultimate sorting process for all that data. It deliberately separates the vital signals you actually need to remember from the totally useless, everyday noise you just need to forget. Without sleep, your brain is basically like a desk completely buried under towering piles of unorganized, chaotic papers. The tired brain isn't low on life or energy, guys. It's critically low on coordination. Which brings us to what might just be the absolute most vital insight of this entire explainer: restoring sensitivity. This is the biological process where the body purposefully resets its response to incoming signals. See, our bodies don't always need more raw resources to feel energetic. Very often, they just need to be highly sensitive to the resources they already possess. True recovery requires better internal responsiveness, not just more external input. To make that super concrete, think of an old volume knob on a stereo. If the knob is dull, stripped, and insensitive, you have to crank it incredibly hard just to get a normal baseline level of sound. When we lose sleep, our internal physiological volume knobs get dull. That's exactly why when you're sleep deprived, you might eat a massive high-calorie meal, but literally still feel physically hungry a biological hour later. Or maybe you have plenty of physical energy stored up, but everything you do feels deeply, deeply stressful. You lost the sensitivity. Sleep restores that volume knob, so normal, everyday signals actually work normally again. Section 2, Capacity versus Readiness, the Performance Paradigm. Okay, picture this. Two people can have the exact same biological potential, the exact same diet, same fitness level, but they perform completely differently based entirely on their sleep. Why? Because of the profound difference between capacity and readiness. Capacity is what your system could do in theory. It's a massive full backpack containing everything you could possibly need for a hike. But readiness is how available and coordinated those resources are right now. It's a brilliantly well-packed backpack where you can instantly reach your water bottle or your map without frantically digging around. Sleep's primary job is turning raw, theoretical capacity into highly coordinated, instantly usable readiness. Section 3. How sleep becomes performance. Lowering internal friction. Now, there are 3 fundamental pillars of upgraded performance that actually feel like true energy to us. First off, your attention becomes significantly easier to aim. Without sleep, your attention acts like a cheap flashlight with weak batteries. The beam is frustratingly dim, it flickers, and you just can't keep it pointed at one thing. Sleep gives you a steady, bright beam. Secondly, emotional control becomes remarkably smoother. A tired brain reacts sharply to literally everything because those deeply embedded threat and frustration systems are just entirely unregulated. And third, physical effort simply costs your body less. Movement feels unburdened and fluid. Basically, sleep fundamentally lowers the internal friction of just existing. But what happens when we skip this essential maintenance? Well, we trigger the multiplier effect of sleep loss, and it is a brutal, cascading downward loop. Step 1, because your attention is weak and flickering, your daily mistakes naturally increase. Step 2, because you're making more mistakes and having to fix them, your psychological stress naturally rises. Step 3, because your stress is constantly running high, your body feels tight and physically strained. And finally, step 4, because of that accumulating strain, your baseline performance drops even further, directly leading to, you guessed it, even more mistakes. It's a heavy compounding tax on literally everything you try to do. And here's the kicker. The precise timing of this biological process is just as crucial as the total amount of sleep you get. Think of a massive factory assembly line. If one highly efficient machine in that factory is doing the exact right job, but doing it at the completely wrong time, the entire assembly line backs up, jams, and slows down. The human brain works the exact same way. It strictly depends on very specific timed cycles of filtering, reacting, and storing data. If your sleep timing is highly disrupted, your waking performance doesn't just dip, it becomes totally unpredictable and unstable. So let's loop back to that immensely frustrating question from the very beginning. Why do you still feel off even if you were physically in bed for 8 full hours? Well, there are 3 main culprits here. First, the quantity was definitely there, but the underlying sleep quality was fragmented and poor. Second, your timing was heavily disrupted, breaking that delicate factory assembly line we just talked about. Or third, and honestly this is a remarkably common one, your previous day's demand simply exceeded your body's capacity for recovery. Remember, recovery always follows demand. If you had an incredibly stressful, emotionally draining, mentally taxing day yesterday, a standard run-of-the-mill night of sleep might just not have been enough to pay off that specific massive debt. This entirely shifts our paradigm. Ultimately, as our source points out, sleep improves performance by lowering the friction between what your body can do and what your mind can actually access. I want you to really think about that. It lowers the friction. Sleep is not lost time where you're achieving nothing. It is the absolutely necessary, foundational condition that makes tomorrow functionally usable. So I want to formally challenge you today. Drop the old, deeply ingrained habit of treating sleep like a simple math problem where you just blindly count the hours you lay perfectly still in bed. Instead, wake up every single morning and ask yourself one simple, powerful question. Did my system restore readiness? Once you shift your mindset away from empty hours and start focusing on deep readiness, physical sensitivity, and lowering internal friction, you stop wildly guessing at your energy levels. You actually start actively managing your body's ultimate recovery system. Keep learning, keep optimizing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.